Okay, the next we're going to deal with household expenses and our accounts like our bank and our RSP, all that stuff. And so let's go back into our spreadsheet. And after child care, we're going to have household. These are all the other expenses. And I looked it up, and in 2024, the average household for about this size is $48,000. And I actually looked it up for two parents and a child. I know the child's not born yet, but this is a good approximation for it. Later, I'm going to adjust it to without having a child there after the child leaves. Finishes college. I'm assuming that the child stays with the parents during college to save on expenses, but after they leave, I'm going to make a change there. In fact, let's do that now. So $48,000 at first, and then it increases by inflation. So equal the year before times INF for inflation. Tab to accept that, enter, and then go up and go all the way down to 2049. In row 29. So not including 29, and then Control D. So that's how much it grows. Then I'm going to go N down to the one below that, and it's in 2024 dollars is 30. So I'm going to go equal and $33,960. But then I need to bring this up to how much it is in 2049. And so I'm going to multiply that by inflation, INF, and then tab. And I'm going to raise the power of that inflation, up arrow, to the number of years that have occurred since then. So open bracket, and it's the number of years plus one. So it's going to be the previous year, 2048, minus what it was, how many years that it started, which is 2024. And then close brackets. And then enter. So it's 61,424. And then that is going to be the one below that. I'm going to increase that by inflation. So increase equal whatever that is times INF for inflation, and then tab, and then enter. And then that formula, shift, and I'm going to just go page down, page down, page down, and then actually up while I'm still holding shift to match 2102. When they're 100 years old, and then Control D. Good. And I'm going to make a little note on that. So notes, if I go back here, is add or edit a note. It's Shift F2. So while I'm on the cell that I want, I'm going to go Shift F2, and I'm going to say that this is when child leaves home. And then escape a couple of times to get out of that note. And then end up after household, and I think I'm going to make this cell, a household cell, a little bit wider so the whole word will fit, Alt-HOI. And then after that, I need to keep track of large payments because I'm going to make down payments for houses and cars. So I need these are large payments. I'm going to make that wide enough, Alt-HOI. And then I'm going to keep track of how much I'm going to pay for a house, how much I'm going to pay for a car, the surplus I have. So take my income minus my expenses. I'm going to have a bank account to keep track of how much I have. And then my I'm going to go up one for RRSP, and then down one for the actual, how much is in the fund, and to the right, how much I'm withdrawing from the fund. And I'm going to make this RRSP shift and then across merged and censor. So Alt HMC. And then for the surplus, it is going to be equal to my net income. So for my two parents, so I'm going to go back and get the net income for the first parent, and plus the net income for the second parent, minus the sum of, open bracket, starting on daycare. This is why I put daycare at the end, shift, and then all the stuff before that, including the car. So from AS4 to AW4, and then while I'm still holding shift, close the brackets, and then enter. So that's the surplus. And then I'm going to go shift, and then page down, page down, page down, page down, oh, back up until 2102, and then Control D. And then Control Home. For the bank account, I'm actually not going to take care of interest. Theoretically I should, but just to simplify this, I'm not going to deal with interest in the bank right now. So low. Well, actually, it's getting better right now, but traditionally it's so low that it's, and there's a difference from savings and checking account. They don't want you taking out of it. We're going to be taking in and out all the time, so don't worry about it. So equal, and then for the first year it's equal whatever is in the surplus. Enter. And then the second year it's equal whatever is in the surplus plus whatever was last year. Enter. And then go back up to that one from the second year, shift, and then page down, page down, page down, and then just arrow it down to the last, Control D, Control O. Good. Now for the RSP fund, it's going to be equal to, and I'm just going to put equal, and I'm going to put them in brackets that had the two funds from the two parents. So scroll all the way to the front, the parent, what they are contributing in cell F4, plus the contributions from parent 2 in Y4, close brackets, minus what is being withdrawn in BA4. Enter. Then the year after that, I'm just going to go back up to that previous formula, shift down one, Control D to autofill it down, and then go down to the formula. I'm going to add on to that the interest that is earned. So F2 plus whatever it was. Oh, yeah, sorry, I can't use the arrow keys. I'm just going to go back. Plus, and I'm going to type it in AZ4 times the investment, INV, and then tab to accept that, enter. And then I'm going to go back up to that formula, shift, page down, page down, page down, and then just going to use arrows to bring it down to the bottom, Control D. And down at the bottom, I see the last line. These are so big that they're not showing up. So I'm going to go end down and then go across to the first one that's too wide to show, shift, and across to the next one that's too wide to show, Alt HOI to make it wide enough. So I've got some problems I need to deal with here. Like I'm going into negative in my bank. That's not cool. My fund is bigger than I need it to be. So I'm going to be making some withdrawals. I'm going to figure that out later. I've still got lots of decisions to make with the car and the house before I adjust how much I'm going to be withdrawing from my RSP. And That's going back to that area. Now, one more thing we need to do before we close is to correct an error that I have found. It's in cell M4, so just hit the F5 key, that's to go somewhere, M4, enter. So here it is. I'm just going to back arrow just so I can see it, then back to M4. This formula has an error in it, so hit F2, and just to show you the error, it's in the second tax bracket. So to compare and contrast, I'm going to show you the correct third tax bracket. So this is the third tax bracket. If G4, which is the taxable amount, if that's greater or equal to J4, which is the third tax bracket, the 165,000, if it is, then take the difference from J4 and I4, the third tax bracket minus the second tax bracket, and multiply it with the percent of the third tax bracket, the 26%. If it's not, then we got to first ask, is it bigger than the previous tax bracket in I4? If it's not, is correct, is done correctly in the second tax bracket. But if it is missing. And so let me just now show you where that is. This is the second tax bracket. It asks if G4 is greater or equal to I4, but then it jumps right to what if it's not. And I need to fill in the brackets to pay it if it is. So go right after the comma, if G4 greater or equal to I4, comma, and this is where we're going to put the bracket. Because if it is, then in bracket, take I4 and subtract the one previous to it, H4, close bracket, and multiply asterisk by the amount, the I3, but I've got to put a dollar sign between the three, $3, to freeze it at that row. Then otherwise, comma, the rest is correct. So I'm going to enter that. Then I'm going to go back up to this now corrected pay, and then I'm going to go Shift N down and Control D to autofill it. And now and up and then down again. So that one is corrected for the federal tax, but now it needs to be corrected for the provincial tax. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go over to the provincial tax and pay and paste it. And making sure it works, I'm going to go F2, and it's still looking at taxable. It's now correct in the second tax bracket, which in this case is in the O column, O4 minus N4. So that's good. Escape. And now I'm going to autofill this down. So Shift and down, Control D, and then end up and down again. So I've copied those over. Now I need to copy, and I'm just going to use the federal one, the M4, and I'm going to copy it over to parent 2. And remember, after parent 2, I need to readjust the taxable one, because in parent 1, it's always looking for frozen in column G. So I'm going to copy M4 over into parent 2 pay, which is AF4, and paste it. Then I'm going to F2 it, and I'm going to I'm just going to escape, and I'm going to autofill that down and then do an edit replace on it. So Shift N down and Control D. And then while I have it selected, I'm going to hit the taxable one in parent 2 is the Z column instead of the G column. So I'm going to go Control H, and I'm going to say anything that is $G, change that tab to $Z to look at parent 2's taxable. And then Alt A for all, and those changes were made. Okay, and then I'm just going to escape out of that box. And then I'm going to copy that, all this whole column, and I'm just going to use the arrow keys to go over to the provincial and Control V. And just to see if that worked, I'm going to go up and then down again and F2. And yes, it's referring to parent 2's taxable, but the provincial pay. And the key thing is the second tax bracket, which is if Z4 equal AH4, then H4 minus AG4, escape. And now it should be all correct. And I'm going to go Control S.